Imagine standing at an airport, watching planes take off and land, a marvel of human engineering and coordination. But behind that seamless operation lies a complex web of regulations and safety measures crafted by two of the most influential aviation regulatory bodies in the world, the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, or EASA, and the Federal Aviation Administration, known as the FAA. Now, while both organizations share the same goal, ensuring the safety of civil aviation, they operate under different legal frameworks, regulations, and jurisdictions. So, let's take a deep dive into the fascinating differences between EASA and the FAA. First off, let's talk about jurisdiction and structure. EASA was established in 2003, stepping in to replace the Joint Aviation Authorities. Its mission? To harmonise safety standards across EU member states, which include countries like France, Germany, and even non-EU nations like Switzerland. EASA collaborates closely with national aviation authorities, or NAAs, in each country, ensuring that regulations are enforced locally while maintaining a unified approach across Europe. On the flip side, we have the FAA, which has been around since 1958, and its jurisdiction is primarily the United States. The FAA not only oversees civil aviation, but also has a hand in aspects of space transportation. Its structure is more centralized compared to EASA, operating directly through its personnel and regional offices to manage enforcement across the vast expanse of the US. Now, let's move on to the certification process, which is where things get particularly interesting. Both EASA and FAA utilize a system of type certificates and supplemental type certificates, but they approach the process differently. EASA's certification involves collaboration not just with manufacturers but also with local NAAs, ensuring that aircraft meet stringent European standards. There's a strong emphasis on environmental protection too, which is woven into the certification process. The FAA, while thorough, tends to focus more on compliance with US airworthiness standards and often works directly with American manufacturers. This centralized process can streamline approvals, but it also means that the FAA's unique regulatory practices might not always align with EASA's. When it comes to pilot licensing, EASA has a unified framework that allows pilots licensed under its system to operate across any EU member state without needing to revalidate their qualifications. This is a huge advantage for pilots looking for flexibility in their careers. In contrast, the FAA issues licenses that, while recognized globally, often require conversion or validation when pilots operate in Europe. This difference can create challenges for American pilots looking to fly in European airspace. Let's not forget about regulatory philosophy, which is where the two agencies really start to diverge. EASA takes a risk-based, performance-driven approach, focusing heavily on data collection and analysis to mitigate risks. This means that EASA's regulations tend to be more prescriptive, outlining specific requirements that operators must follow. On the other hand, the FAA adopts a more compliance-oriented framework, balancing safety with operational flexibility. This allows operators and manufacturers a bit more leeway as long as they meet minimum standards. The FAA's advisory circular system offers guidelines providing pathways for exemptions and alternative compliance methods, which can foster innovation but may sometimes lead to variability in safety practices. Now, let's talk about something that's becoming increasingly important: environmental regulations. EASA is at the forefront of the EU's commitment to climate action, imposing stringent regulations on aircraft emissions and noise. The agency is deeply involved in initiatives like the EU emissions trading system and promotes sustainable aviation fuels and green technologies. The FAA, while it does have environmental regulations, tends to take a more market-driven approach. Its initiatives are often based on collaboration with the industry rather than strict mandates, which can lead to a slower pace of change when it comes to sustainability. Operational differences also come into play when we look at maintenance and airworthiness. EASA enforces strict maintenance, repair and overhaul standards, ensuring continuous airworthiness for European carriers. The FAA, while robust in its regulations, offers more flexibility, allowing operators to create their own maintenance programs as long as they comply with minimum standards. This flexibility can be beneficial for innovation, but may also raise questions about consistency and safety practices. Pilot training and crew duty time regulations further illustrate these operational differences. EASA has uniform regulations across member states that limit hours of operation to prevent pilot fatigue. The FAA, while having similar regulations, offers more operational flexibility, which has sparked debate about which approach better ensures crew readiness. Both EASA and the FAA require operators to implement safety management systems, or SMS. EASA's approach is more prescriptive, providing detailed guidance on hazard identification and risk management. The FAA, however, allows for more autonomy, giving operators the freedom to design their own systems while still meeting the requirements. Finally, let's consider international influence. EASA's reach extends beyond Europe, with many non-EU countries adopting its regulations or aligning their aviation policies with EASA standards. The agency plays a significant role in shaping global safety and environmental standards through organizations like the International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO. The FAA, with its significant global influence, often serves as a baseline for other countries developing their aviation safety standards. In conclusion, while both EASA and the FAA are leaders in aviation regulation, their approaches reflect the unique cultural, legal and operational contexts in which they operate. EASA's prescriptive, harmonised approach contrasts with the FAA's more flexible framework, and these differences continue to shape the global aviation landscape. Understanding these nuances not only enriches our knowledge of aviation safety, but also highlights the importance of collaboration in an industry that connects us all. So, the next time you watch a plane take off, remember that behind that moment of flight is a complex system of regulations ensuring that we can soar safely through the skies.